In the dead of night, bum 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 bum. In the dead of
night.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me here. Today I am bringing you my album review of UK's self-titled album. This was their debut album, which was released in 1978. Of course, you are more than welcome to go back and watch and listen to my first reactions to each of the songs on here. But without further ado, let's go. One of the first supergroups in Prague with members from Curved Air, King Crimson, and Yes, and more. This is a stunning album, to be truthful with you. Wettin performs with lively fervor, while at the same time writing very catchy and melodic hooks, such as In the Dead of Night and Time to Kill. Jobson is probably the most noteworthy, in my opinion, on the album, just personally because of his glassy violin. The leads that he comes up with in many of the songs just sends them into astronomical territory, and his work on the keys as well really transformed the mood of some of the songs and some of the tracks here. Starting with In the Dead of Night, we're introduced to a three-part suite. Darkly driven by illuminating synths is just an opener that plays strongly to the band's strengths, really. Precise and driven rhythms, a unique sense of atmosphere about it, and it just has a very nice progression in its movements. Holdsworth's guitar really slices through the night and perfectly builds into the following track. It's just a very nice introduction into the band, and you may have known their names before, but you're for sure not going to forget them now. As you move into By the Light of Day, In the Echoes of Satellites called, Wettin sings out with cosmic delight here as the crisp sounds dance around him. It's like a starry night that just swirls in the atmosphere. Truthfully, it's probably one of the most memorable and moving moments in the album as a whole, as Jobson just perfectly swings with sultry violin, and he's backed by very warm, solar-like harmonies. Soul-stirring strings and synths surround and float us gently to the finale. The final part of the suite is just a very cosmic combination.
Presto vivace.
And Reprise or Reprise is just downright proggy in the intro with dazzling time signatures, somewhat festive fervor about it, before it reprises back into Dead of Night. This time with just a heavier touch, just with a little bit of extra pressure. And this really cements the tone for the rest of the album as we move forward. This kind of lays the groundwork and the foundation of what's going to be a very ambitious adventure. Moving into 30 years, we're reaching out of the darkness and towards the light. Once again, Wettin cries out forward with sweet desperation in his voice. He really has a certain emotive quality about him when he sings. And among this desperation, there's these sweet and gentle waves of synth and guitar before it explodes into melodic bliss. Shredding guitar, rhythmic reprisals, and the verse culminating in a very big release. Bruford's expressions on the drums also, while definitely noteworthy, are not to be understated here in the album. They are just perfect for these types of moments, specifically like the explosion here in this song, as yes, they create grand moments without being overplayed or overdramatic, and without overshadowing the euphoria of the moment itself. In the land of the midnight sun, a buzzy snowfall fills the soundscape here in the intro of Alaska, creating an opening filled with depth and purpose. It's a very nice demonstration also of the power of the Yamaha CS80, which is a synthesizer that lends a major part to the soundtrack of course, this album, but also makes noteworthy appearances, for example, in the soundtrack to Blade Runner by Vangelis. But the way that the band drops in is just absolutely nuts here. Bruford kills the fills and leads with impatient excitement. The heavy yet soaring instrumentation is both backbreaking and adrenaline-inducing. And then the industrial breakdown, in my opinion, of the ending of this machine that they've put together is both transitional bliss into the following work and very well paid off on its own. Time to Kill almost feels like a city pop song with a little bit of nocturnal nuance. Listen to those glamorous transitions from verse to verse, piano adding a certain glow to the mood of here. And the chorus here, I mean, the chorus is seriously catchy, right? And that's what I mean. Like, the writing here is not only prog, it's not only melodic and kind of poppy sometimes, but it's absolutely catchy. Like, you will not forget the words, the rhythms, the way that they're sung. You're going to be singing this in your car. This is a song that, to me, just has single written all over it, to be honest. Jobson's extended spot here is extremely fun to listen to, and Bruford's intense yet economical percussion is always a joy to listen to, and it really does send this over the edge. Nevermore opens with delicate guitar and synth leads before crisp little drizzles of raindrops begin to fall. This fusion feature is probably the most essential track on the album. The short instrumental groove that they break into after the chorus and before the verse is just addicting. In my opinion, it is here that the tightest instrumental camaraderie can be found between each of the members as they all dance and spin and twirl around one another. Jobson and Holdsworth are especially engaging here. And then we finish out the album with Mental Medication. Passages of quiet contemplation open us up before we just swing into and are thrown into this suave song with somewhat aggressive and kind of rough vocals. It's this one last send-off that ends with a spectacular display that drives the conclusion of this album. It really feels like the fireworks ending the night. For me, it's the least memorable of all the tracks, but I do think that it still achieves its goals and hits its mark. Those are just a couple of my thoughts on each of the songs here on the album, but let's get into my favorite lyrics, my favorite moments, and my song rankings for the album. So my favorite lyrics are actually from 30 Years, and they are as follows. All the things you planned, just sandcastles washed away. On tidal waves of tears, the fears overpowering. Your complex dreams just slithered down, drowning in rocky pools, or smashed and dashed on peril's course, divorcing prematurely thoughts. I just really like the way it's extremely poetic, the way that this lyric is written specifically here, as if everything that you had dreamt of, had built up to, these fantasies, these ideals, were just like sandcastle fantasies, just to be washed away with the next tide, with the next wave. And I just think the way that it's written here is just very well thought out. My favorite moment on the album, there's quite a few good, like really good moments, but I gotta go with the entrance of the band in Alaska. I mean, that moment is just so powerful. It's intensely palpable the way that they come together there. And it's just this brilliant explosion of lights and color. It's just vivid in how it feels. I love it. And then getting into my song rankings for the album, they are from my favorite to least favorite. Nevermore, In the Dead of Night, By the Light of Day, Presto Vivace and Reprise, Alaska, 30 Years, Time to Kill, and Mental Medication. This is quite a stunning album, to be honest with you. It just has a certain feel to it that I haven't quite found in another album just yet. There's something kind of nocturnal and poetic about this. And like I said, it's prog, it's catchy, there's a little bit of pop element in it of just how catchy some of these lyrics are and some of the movements are in here. But it's all upended by great and talented musicianship that you would expect from musicians of this caliber. But definitely let me know what you guys thought. You can let me know what you guys thought of the album, of what your favorite lyrics are, your song rankings, etc., in the comments below. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. Of course, if you did, you can do the whole like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. Don't forget to definitely leave a comment, though. I do like to hear other people's thoughts on the music we listen to here. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.